Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first video of my new series. Um, Basically, teaching people how to program C++. And to start things off, I recommend before you actually code, you need to download either Xcode or Visual Studio. Now, Xcode would be for Mac users, MacBook, your Mac Pro, your MacBook Pro, your MacBook Air. And Visual Studio would be used for Windows. Okay. Now, the reason I'm teaching C++ is because C++ is it's a nice language to know overall. It's interesting and it's pretty much it's used quite a bit in for jobs. Okay. So, our very first lesson. Now, with this whole tutorial thing, it's going to be a whole bunch of videos and you can be a beginner and know nothing about code. Okay? So to start things off, I'm just going to give this thing a title. Don't worry, I'll explain how to do all this. I'm just going to call it CS, C++, basically computer science, C++, number one. Okay? So don't worry about the green. Don't worry, I'll get into all that. Okay. So we're on line 3 here. Okay. So if you install either Xcode or Visual Studio and you're at this template, now if you want, I could do videos on how to install the two. So what you first want to do is what I recommend is a very basic template for when you're starting off any program. Any program. You get instructions from a professor. Do this. Like make this, do that, okay? If you're just at home and you're bored and you want to make something, I recommend this template, okay? So what we're going to do is once you're on your keyboard, we're going to do hashtag include chevron. I call these chevrons. I don't know if there's a proper name, but feel free to put it in the comments below. We're going to include this thing called the IO stream. Then we're going to put a using name space std int main open close parentheses open close curly brackets system pause return return 0. Now, you're probably wondering, I don't even know what this means. Why are you making me type it? Alright, wait, let me tell you why. So include IOStream, think of this as the thing that sets up your code. Okay, in easy terms. I'm not trying to confuse you guys, but just for easy terms, this sets up code. Okay? Using namespace standard, we're going to use this for these statements. C in and C out. It's okay if you don't know what any of this means, I gotta explain it. Int main, this is called a function, okay? It's okay if you don't know that, like I said, I'm gonna get into all that. Then you need your system pause and return 0, and this template works very well for anything, okay? So I guess to get into more detail now, you notice how when I press enter, I make these spaces. Now, spacing is crucial in C++. You want spacing. Without spacing, your code will just look like a mess. Because think about it, just for, a picture. If I did this to you guys, what if I clustered all this like that? I mean, because it's a little bit, you're probably saying, oh, it's not that bad. But when we start typing more, I'm pretty sure you can imagine a whole bunch of cluttered mess just all packed together. So you don't want that. I recommend you space almost every line. Okay. It would be nice and neat. And it just like if you're trying to show somebody your code, just the neater you make it, the easier life is for people. Okay. Now, what we're going to do for this lesson, because this is the very basics, okay? So once you downloaded either Xcode Visual Studio, you have your template. All right. We're going to get into these things called CNs and COUts. Okay. Just right here. So what a CN and COut does, think of this as CN is what the user, you, types into the computer, okay? See out is what's being displayed to you, okay? So this is what I mean. Let's say you're playing a game, okay? It's a very simple game. And the game tells you, "Hey, how old are you?" Okay? Let's say it's like 21 questions or something. It says, "Hey, how old are you?" That would be a see out because that's being displayed to you. And obviously, if you want to play, you need to type in your age. The age you type in would be your CN. Okay? So you could kind of use that example when you're dealing with CN and C out statements. Okay? And we're gonna maybe get into that depending, we'll see. Okay? So now that you kind of grasp what a CN and a C out is, we have these things called data types and variables. Maybe I'll go into this a lot more depending if you guys are still confused or not. Now, there's this thing called an integer. Okay? An integer. You guys know integers 1, 2, 3, 4, so on. Okay? Now, the way you have an integer on programming, you put int, stands for int, and let's say I name this variable number, okay? And let's put a semicolon. Okay, let's break this down. Int is a data type, okay? There's more data types, okay? But this one particularly deals with whole numbers, okay? Just for simple, easy terms. This is my name of the variable. You can name this whatever you want. You can put A. You can. You could put A. You could put B17H. Name it whatever you want. Obviously, you want to name it a whole word. Okay, now there's some techniques to this. You could just say number. You could say num for number. You could say number underscore h. Okay, now what this does, it just makes it easier for you to read. These are the techniques, okay? Number underscore age. Typically, what you want to do if your variable name consists of two words, you want to either put an underscore or you don't have to, but you have to make sure the beginning of your second word is capitalized. Just makes it easier. Because what if I put this? And it's kind of hard to read, right? You put the A, works pretty well. So let's call this number age. Okay? Now, remember how I said a cout displays something to the user? So if we want to ask someone, "Hey, how old are you?" How do you think we would write that? Oh, wait, and before I go on, this semicolon you add at the end of every line. The semicolon tells the compiler, in simple terms, "Hey, stop reading it. We're okay." That's all it means. "Hey, stop reading it. This is the end." Okay? So now that you kind of understand the semicolon and the integer, and just keep in mind, there's a whole bunch of data types. This is just one data type. So now, number age. We want to ask, "Hey, how old are you?" How do you think we would write that? Or maybe more particular, which one would we use? A cout or a cin? I'll give you a little couple seconds to think about it. Feel free to pause the video. We would use a cout. Okay, that's what you answered. Cout. But then you're probably wondering, okay, well, what do we do next? Cout. Um, okay. So this is what you do. You add these things called chevrons. Okay, like how I said earlier with the include IO string, this is called a chevron, at least that's what I call it. We add chevrons. Okay, so we're gonna say cout two chevrons pointing to the left. Okay, you could think, if it helps you remember, you could think of this as pointing outside. You know, if we're displaying something to the user, it's outside. Okay, you could think of it as like that. I'm displaying it outside to the user. It's a good way to remember that. Cout. Okay, so how do we actually write, um, how old are you? Very simple, actually. You put double quote in the middle, you just type in, hey, how old are you? Whatever you type in here in this red will pop up to the user. So if you typed in, hey, how old are you? It would come up as the U. If you put the full U, it comes up like that. Hey, how old are you? Let's add question mark. And then what do we add after every line? A semicolon. Okay? A semicolon. Now, we're gonna space down. Okay? Okay, so let's think about this. We ask someone, hey, how old are you? How do we actually type it in now? Use these. You could feel free to think about it if you have to. You would use a CN. So, CN. How do you think the chevrons would go this time? If this is going outside to the user, if we want to put something in, it makes sense for the chevrons to point inward. Okay? CN, and then you're probably wondering, well, what do we put? Like, hey, how old are you? And you want to type in, oh, I'm 5, I'm 18. Well, we already have a variable to store that, and it's called int number age. So we can store the age we want to put in the variable number age, and that's exactly what we do by type in cn number age semicolon. So we have the cn statement. So hey, how old are you? Let's say the user is going to put let's say 19. Okay. How do we actually maybe show that it's working? Like, how do we know this code's working? Like, yeah, you're showing me this, but how do I know it actually works? That's what you could do. Let's see out what's actually happening. Number age semicolon. So what this is doing is basically d- displaying to you what you put in. So it's just like, think of it as when you're ordering food and the person says at the cash register, okay, I got this right. They're telling you what you told them when you ordered. Think of that as just like this example. Okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to test this real quick. So I'm just going to play it. See, build succeeded right here. I'm going to bring up my toolbar. All right. Hey, how old are you? Well, let's type in an age. Let's put 19. See how you see 19 here? But you see all this gibberish, like all this mess? How do you think we can make this look better? If you kind of have some knowledge, you would know, but if you don't, well, that's okay too. This is how it would look better. So you're going to add some more chevrons, and you're going to include this thing called ENDL, which stands for end line. Okay? For cout statements, it's pretty good to have an end line. Makes things a lot neater. Basically, it just ends the line, and if you want to skip a line to add more space, let's not put it there. Let's add it here. Cout end line. So this is just for spacing, okay? When it actually shows on here. So let's do it again. Let's run it. Hey, how old are you? Let's say 19. 19, just right there. So we know it's working. And see how there's a space right here? This was because of this. So if you want things to be really, really neat, I recommend having an ENDL, okay, at the end. of every cout statement, okay? You can't do it for a cn, okay? But you could do it for a cout. And if you want even better spacing, just include its own line cout endl, okay? And if you want to make these comments on the side, these are just notes. The compiler, the Xcode or Visual Studio won't actually read this. It only reads all this, or everything except the green. So if you want to add that, it's pretty simple. Just do // and type whatever you want, like hi. Okay. So I think that's enough knowledge like gained for today. I hope you guys have a better understanding of just the very basics. And feel free to try to make this code yourself. Try different ages. Try try asking a different question like, "Hey, how many pets do you have?" "Hey, how many family members do you have?" Or "How much does this apple cost?" You could do those things and just feel free to practice it. And yes, feel free to copy this template. That's the whole point of this. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope the audio was okay, the screen quality was okay. And thank you guys for watching my first video on how to program C++. Thank you.